Go ahead and start that. All right. So to start, would you please tell me just a little bit about like your job and what your day-to-day looks like kind of in your field?
Sure. So the biggest challenge in my personal job is procuring clients. So if I have active clients, what my days look like is doing administrative stuff in any contracts in the morning, and then showing houses in the afternoon. And then if I have clients and buyers that are interested in purchasing and it's time sensitive, that might go into the evening as well.
Okay, wow, that's a lot of time, man. So how did you get your start in your field? Like, what kind of drew you to it?
I'm a mom and a wife, and work-life balance drew me there, to be honest. Just because I'm an independent contractor, so I have control as to whether I want to do something, and there's a lot of things you can do from home in my business.
Yeah. Do you primarily like work from home as your office, or do you have an office?
I have an office, but primarily I do work from home.
Okay. Are you at the Windermere one right there?
No, I'm in Kendall Yards.
Kendall Yards. Oh, I used to work for, when I was working in restaurants. I worked at Baba over in
That's
Kendall
what
Yards.
your mom said.
So yeah, we're neighbors.
I was funny that we never saw each other.
I know. I'm sure maybe we did at some point.
Yeah.
But so, what qualities do you feel like make someone successful in your field? Thank you.
Thank you. I would say probably good communication skills, good follow through, integrity, assertiveness is pretty important. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like with that, it's like, I'm sure there's a lot of like kind of with clients, like kind of like having to walk people through the process and figure out how to do it. Because I mean, it's one of those things that for so many people, I'm sure they're doing for the first time or have not done in many years.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like, let me guide you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think makes you stand out against other people in your field? Because I know there are a lot of real estate people out there. Kind of what draws people to you or your office specifically?
Well, first part of your question, what draws them to our office, or I guess second rather, is Windermere really tries to market themselves as like the Nordstrom of real estate.
Okay.
So just really, really high standards, and that shines through, I think, in all of us agents. And as far as me, what stands out for me is I deeply care about my clients more than my paycheck, honestly. I mean, we all work for a reason, which is to make money, but I care about them like they're my family, and I think people can feel that from me.
Yeah, I think my job right now is partially sales related, and I think there's a huge element of like relationship building that people can really tell if you're in it for benefiting their financial life as opposed to making a sale or like doing something that benefits you. So I totally empathize with that.
Yeah.
So then there's a couple questions that we have that are just about kind of trends in real estate. Okay. So one of them is just that, you know, in 2020, 21, during COVID, mortgage rates fell to like 2 to 3%, just very, very low for just in general. And then right now it looks like they're sitting at a little bit over like 6%. How do you feel like that has kind of impacted your current buyers?
It's impacted my buyers and my business massively. So like at 2.5%, the same buyer is at over 6 with a similar down payment, and they're not getting the same house anymore at all. So that's number one. Number two, in my personal experience, it created a circumstance where a lot of people put the brakes on, and they chose to rent and just feel the market out in the hopes that the rates are going to go down. And that's starting to slowly but surely change right now.
Yeah.
Where people are realizing renting is still not building your own wealth.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's impacted the availability of homes on the market? Like people are kind of locked into a lower interest rate and can't afford to leave?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or they can afford to leave, but they're choosing not to. Because 2.5%, they call it the golden handcuffs for a reason.
Right. I see the opposite end is doing mortgage payments at my work, and there's so many people that are like, I'm never leaving, I'm never getting out of here.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to ask, how do you think that's kind of impacted prospective buyers or sellers? But you kind of had mentioned that, there's a lot of people putting the brakes on.
Yeah.
So So I had done a little bit of research. Some of the Spokane Realtors Associations have the median sale price for a home in Spokane around $400,000.
Yep.
How does that number kind of compare to where it was when you started your career?
Oh, it's massively different. When I very first started, it was 2007. I don't even remember what the average price that was then. And then I got back in the business in 16. And I would say the same house in 2016 that sold for, say, $275 is now selling for over $5.
Oh my gosh.
Prices have almost doubled, which is shocking.
Where do you expect that to continue to climb, or do you expect with the rate, like their projected rate drops, for that to kind of go down? Or?
I think our prices are going to go down, actually, personally. Like, I have a current listing, and I purposely listed it 3 to 5% of what the comparable properties were showing to accommodate for that, and we still have not gotten under contract.
Do you have, I don't know how much you work, do you work primarily with sellers or with buyers, or both? Both. Do you have sellers that are having a hard time selling just because people can't afford to buy right now, or?
Yes and no. I always say no matter what market we're in, because I was an agent during the recession, if you price it appropriately and your condition is excellent and it stands out compared to its competitors, it will sell.
Yeah.
So if it's not selling, typically it's either the finishes are super dated and we're overpriced, or the price is too high, or both.
Okay. What kind of homes are you seeing be like the most in demand right now, or the most like valued?
I would say niche markets. So if someone really wants a condo downtown, for example, and it's a good price, it's going to move. Or like this South Hill neighborhood by Cannon Hill. Yeah, people are going to move. Like, I actually sold Tandy's house recently, and it was just a little below.
She had sold her house, yeah.
$500,000, and we had no trouble selling it because there's not a lot on the market in this little neighborhood that you can get for that price.
Oh my gosh, well, and it's so, I feel like this whole area has expanded so much in the last 10 years even, like, and Kendall Yards included too.
Totally.
Yeah, I had Tandy, I went to the Stars flower event that they did for their fundraiser, and she had mentioned at that time she was selling her house.
Yeah.
So, yeah, which I don't know if you went to that event, but that was really cool.
I couldn't make it. I had a birthday party, but I went to the last one actually with your mom.
Oh, really? Nice. That's funny. Let's see. So there's a couple just online resources that have kind of said that spring and summer are the busier and the more competitive times of year for the real estate market. And some of the reasons that are stated is just because most sellers choose to list then, because that's when the majority of buyers are entering the market. Do you agree with that, or what kind of strategies do you utilize in that season to keep up with demand?
I think that Spokane market is very cyclical because of our weather and because of our school systems. I think if we lived somewhere like Palm Springs, for example, it would probably be very similar except for the school year.
Yeah.
And parents that really wanted certain school districts. I do encourage my clients, though, like if they have a house, I like my clients that are listed in the valley right now, they want to sell regardless, and it will sell.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes as a consumer and a buyer, you might get a better deal in the middle of December.
Right.
Because people really want to sell then. Yeah.
Nice. I can't imagine moving in the middle of the winter.
I've done it. It was worth it.
Right. How do you kind of adapt in the slower seasons when you're not maybe seeing that volume of clients?
Great question. I actually am working on trying to get another business going on the side to accommodate like a second income or a third income because I'm married. And then just, they call it in real estate or sales, and maybe you know this from your business or your job, you stay in contact. So you stay in the sphere, and you can, like when you said, would you like to get together? The answer is always yes, because you might be looking to buy a house, your friends might be, and it's a great way to meet new people.
Every no is next opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's the other business you're looking to get into? Is it?
Actually, another small business. I am passionate about fitness, so I would love to train women in the area of weightlifting and just like healthy lifestyle.
Oh, that's really cool. I bet my mom would be your client too. I was like, she loves that.
Actually, she was supposed to come over, but she didn't make it one night, and then we haven't connected again.
It's like she's so good about that kind of stuff and connecting. I say it's Amber and all of her tea friends, because she has Tandy and Taya and Tana.
Oh, she told me that.
All of these people.
I said one time out loud to her, I go, the friend with the tea, and she started laughing, and I go, what? She's like, I don't know if you realize you're like one of my only friends with a name that's not starting with T. And I was like, oh.
Her bridesmaids at her wedding were Taya, Tana, Teresa, Tarina, and I can't remember the other one, but like it's all tea people.
That's hysterical.
so it's like, oh, the tea one, that's all of them. So then, some of the other research, just that had stated that kind of the average time for a home to sit on the market in Spokane is about 27 days.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that's accurate? And do you feel like that timeline has increased or decreased over the last couple of years?
I think it's super accurate. I mean, I always, in each specific house, run that neighborhood because it does vary. So that's a broad statistic. But, if it's sitting longer than that, it's probably overpriced or there's something quirky about it, like it maybe needs new paint, a new roof, and people are afraid to take that on.
Are there specific areas that you see sit on the market longer or more in demand, or...?
Well, this is more experiential response. I don't have stats to back it up, but yes, like in my experience, some areas of the South Hill move really well, and actually North Side also, out by your mom and Jason's is really excellent because those are typically priced really well for first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
And then if you go further north, like Windermere, those homes are bigger and they're super great for families, and people really want that school district.
Yeah, up in Mead. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So.
So do you feel like we're shifting more towards a seller's market or a buyer's market? What do you feel like we're kind of in right now?
I think we're neutral right now, in my personal opinion, and not everyone agrees with me. I think we're going to go to a buyer's market.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's just with the availability of homes going up? Or?
Yep, inventory is going up, and we're seeing sellers being willing to do things like pay closing costs, which I personally haven't seen in years.
Yeah. Was there this is not in my interview questions, but was there some change in the law recently about kind of how the payment for real estate agents works? Or
Absolutely, yeah.
What exactly was that about? Because I had seen a little bit of that in the periphery of my research.
That was smart of you to catch. So there was a lawsuit, and it stated, and this is very broad, I didn't do a deep dive on it, but that we as agents were coercing you as the consumer to pay us a certain percentage. And we're not saying to you, Emma, you can pay me blank, but this is what I charge. You get to make that decision. So real estate's a very strange industry comparatively to like a physician. A physician would never sit us down and say, well, I charge 10 apples, but you can only pay me 2 if you like. They would never do that. But they put us in a position to do that, which is fine. But so that's kind of how that landed. So now we just have a lot of transparency, but also at the same time not. The transparency being, we have, like, if you were my buyer, you would need to sign a buyer's agreement with me, and I would say to you, I charge 5 apples, and if seller only says she's going to pay 2.5 apples, you're on the line to pay me the other 2.5 apples.
Okay.
So it's very different. Whereas before, at least in my experience, because I've only been an agent since 2007 plus, it was always the seller paid for everything. And now typically seller still does, but there are those odd situations where a seller refuses, and then the buyer is in a circumstance of either they pay their agent or they move on to a different house.
Okay. Do you think that's going to be one of those things that we see shift back onto the seller, with it being more of a buyer's market that we're moving towards? Or
I do, and I educate my sellers of, if you were to do the research, because prior, that's where it's not transparent anymore. On the MLS, it would say what you were paying as seller if you're a seller. It doesn't anymore. So we have to, as buyer's agents, call the listing agent and say, what are they offering? And then it becomes what feels a little bit like a game, because sometimes the agent will say we're paying blank, and then other times they'll say make an offer, or the other times they'll say it depends on the client's offer. So I do think, though, for a seller to continue to be competitive, they need to be fair, if that makes sense, because now the consumer has skin in the game. And if they're not being fair, and say you're a first-time home buyer and you don't have the extra cash, you're probably going to move on to another property.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure with the interest rates being so high, a lot of people, what people were expecting to pay, they're hitting the max of their budget, probably, most likely.
Yeah, and even not even first-time home buyers. Like, I'm sure you've heard of the term in banking, cash poor. There's a lot of people that make great money, but they don't necessarily have liquid money in their bank.
Absolutely. I have a lot of clients where they're kind of playing the game of like, what can I leverage to keep my cash liquid, but it's all tied up in the real estate. So, I mean, I do a lot of equities and stuff like that and cash out refinancing. So,
sure.
We kind of, we work with a lot of clients like that.
Yeah.
So one of the trends that I've kind of seen just from looking through, this one was from Northwest Properties, like lifestyle realty website, is that a buyer trend in Spokane is migration from larger or higher cost of living cities like Seattle, people coming in from California, things like that. How do you feel like that influx of maybe wealthier buyers has impacted the local market? Do you think that's maybe positive, negative? Do you expect that to continue?
As a small business owner, I personally think it's positive. Again, not everyone will agree with me. I think it's fantastic.
Right.
Like, how the infrastructure of Spokane and the roads, et cetera, handles it, I don't know. Like, we aren't in charge of all of that other than through our boats. But do I think it just necessarily negatively affects, like, someone like you that grew up here? Maybe, but it's rare, because they're not typically coming in, for example, and buying a starter home.
Yeah.
They're buying, like, $1 million home.
Absolutely, yeah, I think there's that perception in Spokane and Idaho of like, oh, these Californians coming in and just taking over everything. And yeah, I think you're right about that. Competing markets, it's like they're not buying these.
They're not buying $400,000 houses.
Yeah, they're buying the $1 million+ lake houses on Lake Coeur d'Alene, that they can.
And then anyone else that can afford that can compete any way they want.
Right, exactly. It's like the physicians over at Providence who can afford to buy some of these places.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned in the beginning that one of the things that you find the most challenging is, or that one of the biggest parts of your job is just pursuing clients.
Yep.
What is the best way that you have found of building up your client base?
I'm all referral based, so I've never been one to cold call or, back in the day, yellow pages. I just don't think that translates well. So really, it's just word of mouth. If I worked with you and you liked me, you passed me onto your sister, that kind of thing. So that goes pretty darn well, considering.
Yeah. Do you do any like online or social media marketing at all, or is it mostly?
Good question. Yes, I do. And I have kind of fumbled along for the last 10 years because I'm your mom's age, so it's like that wasn't our childhood. But this next year, that's my goal at the end of 2025 and all of 2026 is to have a more professional presence. Because I have a close friend in the office and her last 3 transactions were from social media.
Yeah, I've seen, even being my age, just the amount that has changed so quickly with like AI stuff and TikTok and like these emerging social media markets. I'm like barely know how to do Instagram and Facebook, and it's like now everyone's kind of migrating to these other forms, and there's with especially working in professional offices, there's like Microsoft Copilot and all of these resources that it's really hard to adapt to quickly and figure out how to use them.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel you on that aspect, but it'll be cool to see the changes through the social media marketing, and hopefully you get some buyers through that as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So for you, just in selling a home, what does that process really look like? Like from start to finish, what does that really look like for you, the timeline?
Sure. So initially it's a client reaching out to me or me reaching out to them and saying, I noticed you had a major life change. Are you interested in me giving you a value? And so then I spend several hours, if not days, figuring out what I think is the appropriate value. I try to go into the house physically because even if I was the listing agent or buyer's agent 10 years ago, we don't know what the person has done with the property. And so that's number one for me. Number two is meeting with my client, and they basically interview me. And if they decide to go with me, then they sign all the contracts stating that I'm their listing agent, what they're going to pay me, what they're going to pay the buyer's agent. And then we market the home with professional photos, videos, drones, and that is where social media comes in, because even us as agents,
that's cool.
yeah, even us as agents, we can not some agents can be lazy, and so we're friends with each other on social, so sometimes they see a listing and then they go sell it. So like, it's a pretty amazing resource from that context. Once we get under contract, then it's my job as agent to manage all the timelines, and there's several, until we get to the day of closing.
Is that typically within that kind of 30-day timeline, or is it like, because we had talked about homes sit on the market about that long, or is it a little bit longer than that with closing? And
it just depends. Like, our average closing in the Spokane market is 30 to 45 days. Anything more than that is extremely rare, unless someone's selling a house and going to purchase the other house, so we're waiting for that house to close or be simultaneous. But I can have a client say 6 months in advance, a year, 5 years, reach out and talk to me about it several times until they finally say, okay, I'm ready. So that it is a pretty time-involved job and business.
What specifically, like, are there any things that you notice are the most common, like, hiccups or, like, problems that you run into in the selling of a house, or?
That's a great question. I would say communication from both sides, from me as an agent, but also from the client, because there have been circumstances where a client didn't realize they had a lien on their house, for example, and they were a bit naive and didn't understand that that had to be paid in full before they could move forward, and the monies had to be taken out. And then some people can be difficult, and they can make the transaction difficult, even if it's not my own clients. The buyer and the buyer's agent can be difficult. So that can kind of eke out longer than it needs to be. It's not always efficient because you're dealing with human beings.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's been the hardest transition for me, going from a more behind the scenes career field to a more people oriented career field, is learning how to talk to people. Yeah. Because I'm like, I just used to be in the back of the house. I don't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. But sure. It's definitely a trial by fire. You learn it or you don't.
You do. Agreed.
So is there a specific project or sale that you've worked on that you would say is like your favorite one, or maybe on the flip side, the most challenging one that you've ever had?
The example I would give you is we're not supposed to have favorites, but I do have favorite clients. Yeah. And I would say the favorite clients that I have had are high-driving people that know where their money is, and they are excellent communicators. They do not blame me or other people around them for maybe being disorganized and not having all of their ducks in a row. They own what they need to own so that we can have an amazing transaction. And taking it further, they're very loyal. They've called me 2, 3, 5 times later with more houses. So
those are my favorite clients. We're so close to Gonzaga that we get a lot of the international students, and they will come in with like a binder of like, here's my visa, here's my passport, here's my financial documentation, here's this and this and this, and I'm like, I love you guys. like they always know exactly. They have all their ducks in a row. It's great, and then they all bring like their friends and tell other people. Yeah, love those clients.
Absolutely.
So if you could go back to the beginning of your career with the knowledge that you have now, what might you do differently and what might you do again?
That's a great question. What I would do differently is be more confident as a younger person. It took me being almost 50 years old to not care what other people thought. Yeah. And if I was your age, I would walk into a room like I belonged. Yeah.
Is there a gender demographic because of that, like a men's field, or is it?
Well, real estate's unique. There's a lot of women, but women aren't always supportive of other women. Yeah, they can be extremely catty, and then there is the male patriarchy piece of it as well, where someone could receive something from a male. I've had that happen in a transaction where my boss, who's a man, got involved and the person backed down, and he said exactly the same thing I said, and it was very frustrating. Oh my gosh, yeah. And the older I get, the less passive, calm, demure, as they say, I get.
I feel that. It's like, especially coming from cooking, like that's a very male-dominated field, and you learn to have a backbone very quickly. Yes. If you could give a piece of advice to someone entering your field right now, what would be the main thing that you would tell them?
I think I would have questions for them, which is, are you a pretty social person? Because real estate and anything where you're procuring your own clients, you have got to be out in our community, and you can't expect to make money from your living room. That's just not how it's going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not an influencer, although that's changing with social media, because there are agents that have become little influencers and they're making excellent money doing it.
That's pretty cool, actually.
It is.
Are there any like professional organizations that you're a part of that you kind of network through, or?
You know, I haven't. I was born and raised here, so I haven't had to, as awful as that sounds, but I probably, that would be something I would say to a younger person, and that's honestly something I'm still mulling around whether I want to pursue myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any like long-term goals that you're still looking to achieve in your industry, and maybe what goals have you met that you set when you started?
Well, I would say initially when I got back into the business, I never expected to accomplish what I accomplished, and my boss actually said to me, think bigger.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool to see those things come to fruition. And now I am thinking bigger, and my first goal is like consistency.
Yeah.
And second goal is to think bigger.
Okay. What? Because you had kind of been in 2007 and then back in 2016.
Yeah.
Is there any one specific thing that feels really different from the first time to the second time? I mean, obviously the first one was around the recession, so that's a little different, but...
Yeah, totally. Like, back in 2007, we were still handwriting contracts.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and like when I got back into business, my boss was like, absolutely not, you've got to figure this out.
Like learn the tech?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I did, but I'm very glad I did.
Yes,
Yeah.
I feel that. I'm not tech literate, but I was never a huge techie, but then with my role, I have to help people utilize our online systems, and so I've become like unwitting tech support for the elderly.
Totally.
And I'm like, all right, Face ID is my best friend. We're gonna learn how to use this right now.
Right?
It's like you just have to set it up one time.
I love Face ID.
I love Face ID. It's great. So do you have just any specific thoughts or feelings about the future of the industry?
I'm curious what will happen in the future. Like, my daughter's getting married, for example.
Oh, congratulations.
She told me that when you go to try on a dress now, you have to pay. Like,
Yeah.
that was never a thing when your mom was really young. And then you have to pay if you have more than 4 people. And my brain immediately did go to real estate and thought, maybe I'm going to go to the point where buyers have to pay us per showing. Because there are some buyers that take advantage and literally look for a year or 2 years, and they know they're never going to buy. And then we have the hard decision of when to cut them loose.
Yeah. I'm sure you do so much like upfront labor for the eventual payout later on, but if they're just kind of fishing, I can imagine that can be difficult.
It is.
Yeah, the wedding dress thing, Morgan just picked out her dress a month or so ago, and she had the similar thing where went and tried on dresses a few different places and had to pay to like reserve the time slot or the whatever. And I was surprised because I didn't really know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
I was like, I have to pay to try on a dress? Like, what do you mean?
Yes.
But things change, I guess.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy.
And then the last kind of thing I had was just, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wish that I would have, or anything that you maybe wanted to talk about that didn't come up?
No, I think actually you covered everything.
Yeah, I tried to do as much, at least cursory research as I could into your role.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you being willing to participate and being very willing to engage as a subject matter expert, because that's the big point of the class, is just doing communications and working with other professionals and talking to people. It's interesting because it's all online, which I guess I couldn't do in person, but it's all online because I work a full-time professional job, and so we're making a lot of videos to do presentations and talk to people, and so it's really interesting having to communicate in that way and make videos and do all this stuff, because I'm not really used to that. I'm definitely an in-person person, so it's been interesting, but yes, I very much appreciate you being willing to participate.
Oh, of course, yeah.